Hey all, welcome to ShareTrek. This is Raj here. Today I want to talk to you about the Inflation Reduction Act and how the pharma industry is responding to it. This is important to both investors as well as patients. I believe this is a balancing act between profits, ethics, and humanity. So to know more about this, let's get started. Welcome back, friends. So what is the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA? In early August, President Joe Biden signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act. It's a $740 billion investment in climate action, corporate tax reform, and healthcare, and has been described as a landmark legislation by many people. The objective of the law is to reduce inflation. One of the side effects is a bit of tantrum from the pharma majors. The bill addresses climate change remediation and also reducing the cost of prescription drugs. Here I'd like to show you a tweet from Robert Reich. You can see the insulin price is so disproportionately expensive in the United States as compared to other countries in the world. The IRA provision allowing Medicare to negotiate prescription drug costs could result in lower prices for 5 to 7 million Medicare recipients, according to the Alliance for Retired Americans. The bill's provisions impose taxes on corporate stock buybacks and other minimum taxes on large companies, as well as increased funding to hold wealth tax dodgers accountable. From my perspective, it seems like an effort from the government to bring more equity to the common citizen. Now let us understand the dynamics of the pharma business. The way I see it, pharma companies have to invest in research in their respective pipelines with multiple candidates. We have seen that in the genomic companies, how the costs add up. They do their best to select low risk and lucrative targets, but still not all pipeline candidates succeed. The ones that fail, their cost gets passed on to the other ones which are successful. The first layer of cost is the target identification. Then you have R&D costs. You also have FDA costs. In order to encourage the smaller and rarer ailments to be targeted, FDA offers the orphan drug designation, and it gives a lot of benefits and incentives. But at the end of the day, the research costs and time taken to market a new drug is significant. The pharma company also spends a lot of money on advertisements that suggest that you ask your doctor about a particular brand. Whenever I look at any US television channel, every 3 minutes there is an ad, and most of the ads are for branded pharmaceuticals. And I always think that doctors spend millions of dollars getting educated, spend 7 to 8 years going through college to become doctors. And here we have the pharma companies advertising on the television, asking you and I to ask our doctor for a particular medicine. So it's that crazy out there. So that's the amount of money that's going into advertisements. And they spend a lot of money at the doctor's clinic as well. So I believe that they have medical representatives who visit various doctors' clinics. And the expenses out there involve seminars where they would be invited to really nice hotels with lunch and breakfast and stuff like that, golf tournaments with prizes, and fancy seminars in exotic location, etc., etc. All of this is in order to make their drug the first choice in the clinic. Who pays for all these expenses? They all get added and get into the cost of the medicine, and the patient is the one who pays for this. As a result, the pharma prices are sky high in US. We have Americans coming to Canada to buy medicines and get dental work done. Now we can argue that as equipment becomes cheap, pharma research should get a bit cheaper. However, equipment costs are only a small fraction. That said, what is the solution? When US drug prices are so much higher than the rest of the world, it indicates that some pharma is charging as much as the market can pay rather than cost plus profit model. And now let us draw a parallel to the oil industry. We saw how oil prices skyrocketed recently, and the president kept on urging oil companies to stop price gouging, but they didn't say anything. However, they did not stop.
More warning. That's warning to the oil and gas industry executives. Do not. Let me repeat, do not use this as an excuse to raise gasoline prices or gouge the American people. The price of oil has stayed relatively low. It kept going down. The price of gas should be going down as well. My experts inform me the production of only about 190,000 barrels a day has been impacted by the storm thus far. This small temporary storm impact on oil production provides no excuse for price increases at the pump. None. If gas companies try to use this storm to raise prices at the pump, I will ask officials to look into whether price gouging is going on. America is watching. The industry should do the right thing.
We then saw all oil companies report post-bumper profits in Q3, increasing dividends and announcing share buybacks. One of the oil companies, I recollect, increased dividend by 15% and announced a huge share buyback. Whenever there's a share buyback, the share price goes up and shareholders benefit. And why does this happen? It is because our terms of engagement is faulty. We as shareholders want increasing dividends. This leads to incentivizing the CEO with stock-based remuneration. The CEO is focused on increasing stock value. This means greater dividends and more buybacks. To achieve this, costs have to be cut, even if it means reducing number of employees and getting economical while complying with regulatory requirements, increasing product costs. On the other hand, non-incentivized business models have failed. The communist approach of state-owned corporation led to lack of innovation or ambition and fostered the demise of service-oriented culture and boosted corruption and bribery. Because the job was guaranteed, everybody was supposed to have a job, and the objective of the organization in those models is to boost employment. So when everybody has a guaranteed job and everybody is going to get their salaries, there is no incentive for innovation. Not only that, but people in those organizations start believing that they are doing a favor to those who are coming for services, and the culture of bribery gets on. And it's very detrimental. So either opposite, extreme capitalism and extreme communism doesn't work. Today I saw a headline that read, IRA impact, AstraZeneca and Merck CEOs warn of oncology drug development shifts. Drug companies are now venting about President Biden's new drug price negotiation law, which is part of the IRA. Some companies are pointing to orphan drug designation restriction, and others are noting that disparities between small and large molecule drugs when it comes to drug price negotiation kicks in at 9 years rather than 13 years. You see, they lose 4 years under this act. On an investor call recently, AstraZeneca CEO Pascal Soriot said that his company may no longer launch new cancer drugs in the US unless it's for a large enough indication to keep the clock from starting too soon. So you can imagine that these drugs will come 4 years later to the United States. Rob Davis, Merck's CEO, said last week that cancer drug development tends to go where you can prove a hypothesis the fastest and then do subsequent studies to broaden, extend, and deepen it. That way the clock ticks only after it has been broadened and deepened. Let me explain. The 1984 Drug Price Competition and Patent Term Restoration Act gave pharmaceutical companies exclusive protection for innovating a new drug. Under the act, if a pharma company created a new therapy, they enjoyed patent protection to effectively monopolize the market. This was the payoff for shouldering high risk and high cost of developing drugs. But once the patent and the exclusive hold on the market expires, the legislation encouraged competition to benefit consumers. Any drug company would be able to manufacture non-brand name version of the very same drug and call it generics. And for a while, the system worked well. Not anymore. The system intended to reward drug companies for their innovation and eventually protect consumers is systematically being broken. Drug companies are thwarting competition through a number of tactics, and the result is high prices, little to no competition, and drug quality problems. The first method is pay for play. A drug company simply pays a generic company not to launch a version of a drug. The Federal Trade Commission estimates these pacts cost US consumers and taxpayers $3.5 billion in higher drug costs each year. The second method is to use citizen petition to delay generics from being approved. A citizen petition can ask the Food and Drug Administration to delay action on a pending generic drug application. By law, the FDA is required to prioritize these petitions. However, the citizens filing concerns are not individuals, they are corporations. The FDA recently said branded drug manufacturers submitted 92% of all citizen petitions. By filing these petitions closer to the date of patent expiration, a pharma can delay advent of cheaper generics by another 150 days. Generic manufacturers need a sample of the patented drug to compare and work on a biosimilar generic that is equally effective. However, the pharma company holding the patent often would decline to sell the drug samples to generic manufacturers. This does not mean generic drug manufacturers are angels either. Many generic drug manufacturers face recalls far too often. Also, poor manufacturing conditions do happen, especially when the generic manufacturer is not located in the US. Here is a question to you. You don't have to answer me, but think about it for yourself. Let us say you have a pharma share. Don't you want it to continue paying high dividends? Don't you want it to improve in share value by conducting share buybacks? When these events happen, can you honestly say that you care about the patient and their predicament? Does that thought enter your mind? Would you support a board and a CEO if the company plays true to the spirit of the rules and your shares do not perform as well as they do now? You think about it. You don't have to answer anybody, but there lies the conflict. All this boils down is to greed and lack of empathy. The solution is very simple, but the human nature is such that without greed, there is no innovation. With greed and innovation comes great things, but it comes at the cost of humanity, ethics, and empathy. I cannot think of any mechanism through which we can keep the best of greed and innovation without losing the best of humanity, ethics, and empathy. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I hope this video was a thought-provoking video for you, not only as an investor, but also as a patient. How can we continue to have a human system where the companies continue to innovate and come with better drugs and better solutions, at the same time be profitable without gouging the patients? This is very much significant for ailments like diabetes, HIV, various types of cancers which are terminal, because the patient need is very significant and empathy levels should be quite high. But at the same time, if the FDA was to say there's a price cap, there will be no companies innovating in these areas or coming up with discoveries. But at the same time, if they are given a free rein, such therapies would cost $500,000, $1 million. Sky is the limit. So how do you regulate these things? And also, it's not like a free run for the pharma companies. We have seen the case of Bluebird Bio, when they came up with Zynteglo with a $250,000 to $300,000 price tag. They had to struggle to get it approved through patient advocacy groups and to come up with various kinds of pricing models in order to make it affordable to the patients. So it's a messy situation out there, but I thought that for our community, it's important to gain an understanding of the environment in which patients exist, pharma companies exist, FDA operates, and the government operates. So it's a conflict of interest everywhere. We as shareholders also have to introspect and have to send a message to the companies to balance the concerns of the patients in terms of the cost of the therapy versus innovation. We need innovation to go on at the same pace that we have at this point of time. At the same time, we want to make sure that patients get a fair share when it comes to treatments. So with that, my friends, I'd like to end this video. If you find this video interesting, please do not hesitate to press a like out there. It helps the channel. And also, I'll be bringing more interesting videos in this channel. So if you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing and help us cross the 1,000 subscriber mark. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now.